Hello, my name is Rachel Byass from Rachel Byass Ceramics, and today I'm going to show you how to do some really simple brush strokes using a good round brush. This is a number, oh, what is it now? It's a number 10. Now, all brush sizes, you could say, if I was to invite you to a seminar and said to you, I want you to bring a number 10 round with you and number 3 round, with different companies, the 3 will be totally different. And so I often wonder why we do that with sizes. So the best thing to do is know your brushes. Now, what I've done with my brushes is I've put them on the website with the actual size of the brush to help. So this is my number 10, but if I was to show you, oh, I wonder if I've got another one here. Yep, that's a number 10. You can see there's quite a difference. So this is not a sable brush because when I'm doing brush strokes, I need a bounce. So if you want to test a brush, what you would do is if you look at a sable brush and you look at a man-made brush, you'll see that the sable brush, when you wet it, the sable brush will hold loads of paint, whereas the man-made brush will not. But the sable brush is not forgiving if you're new at brushwork. So I'll first of all show you what you should be looking for in a brush when you're picking a brush. Okay, so if this was the plate and I had filled this with paint and I do that, you can see, look, there's very little bounce. Whereas if I use a man-made brush, you can see that it's bouncing up and down really quick, straight up on its axle, and that is what the kind of brush that you want. So to start this plate, I'm going to first of all use this little textured sponge. So I'm going to just go dab, 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 dab to create a bit of a background. You can use several colours if you want, and it doesn't take very long, just to get a little bit of texture into the background.
It's so light up here that you can hardly see that colour. Can you see?
Okay, it's true.
And it's
actually getting quite outside. It's starting to get dark because it's probably 7 o'clock.
I don't know what time it is because my watch has stopped.
It is 8 o'clock. So wow, and we've had the lightest day, which I hate to think of, that we've had the lightest day, and now it's going to start getting dark 4 minutes a day. So I put a tiny bit of green in there as well, and that just creates, I don't know if you can see, it is difficult to see in this light, but it is darker than you think, and it's dark enough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do some really simple brushwork. So what I'm using out of the set of brushes is I'm using just a round and a liner. So it is important to have a decent brush, and I'm just going to single load today and make it really simple. So if you can't think of placement, what you can do is put your middles in first. So we'll put little green dots in, just here and there.
And let's hope Tina's watching because she was the one that
she did.
Asked you to do this.
Yeah, we had a little. I asked people to comment, and she was a lady called Tina, who sometimes comes to class, was the only person to say, "Oh, please, some simple flowers." So this is for Tina. So tip, press, pull, and lift to just not quite a point, but it makes a point. You see, it makes a point at outside because there's a nice point with the actual brush. And I'm going to do five petals, and I'm going to use 3 colours. Now I call this Flowers for All. I made this up, oh gosh, must be 20 years ago. And this is something that I'll show a student when they're new. And we've done it on bisque, on greenware, on t-shirts, on handbags. And I usually do 3 of any one flower, depending on the size of the bisque. And then I move on to another colour, and then I overlap. So tip, pressure on and pressure off. Tip, pressure on and pressure off. So I've got my 3 flowers in there. Just take the colour out of my brush and give it a little tiny squeeze, there's no water in it. And then load with another colour. Now what you want to do when you're loading with the other colour is fully load the brush and then overlap on one that you've already done. So tip, pressure on, pressure off. Tip, smash it down, pull it to the centre. Smash it down, pull it to the centre. You see how quick this fills up. And this could go on anything. It could be a mug, a plate, a bowl, it doesn't matter. Even animals, you know, like party animals, the little things look quite cute. Pressure on, pressure off. And I like to see like half a flower. That looks pretty good too. We'll just do 2 red ones and see how it goes. And take the water out so you don't have any paint. And you can do this with any paint medium. I'm using colour to clay, but you could be using fun strokes, concepts, or even acrylics. So the next one we'll have here overlapping. So tip, pressure on and pressure off. Pressure on, pressure off. And this could just be going around the plate on a rim instead of where, as it is now, filling the plate. And then do another one. So we'll overlap up here. Pressure on, pressure off. Tip, smash it down, pull it to centre. Smash it down, pull it to the centre. Pull it to the centre. Normally in the studio, when we teach this as a little workshop, we'll say to the students there's a choice of bisque there, and we'll let them choose whichever piece of bisque they want. And then we usually have a set of 3 different colour combinations. So this is red, orange, blue, and then we might have another combination which is purples and pinks and so on. So so you're giving people choice, but you're still keeping it quite simple. And great, Liz is just passing me or getting me, or was getting me, the water.
I was going to get you some espresso, but there's no water in it.
So there's a little bit there. It's a bit dusty looking water because we're actually renovating. So, but it'll do for the purpose. If you spray something, you can then see what it's going to look like. Anyway, I'm going to take the colour out of the brush, give it a little wiggle, take out the liquid again. And then we'll go for a different colour. So we'll have the yellow. So again, tip, pressure on, pressure off. Pressure on, pressure off. Pressure on, pressure off. And this is a great one to give beginners a bit of confidence. I have one over here. Pressure on, pressure off. So tip, pressure on, pressure off. And I like to see odd numbers of petals. Okay, where can we fit another one? Let's have a little half one over here. So that's probably enough flowers. I'll let that dry, but it's a bit wet, and then I'll do another little layer on that yellow petal so it covers up the blue. So now I'm using a small number 3, and I'm just going to do a leaf in as a filler. So we're going to find a space, so tip, smash down, pull forwards and give it a little turn at the end. So and if you want a bigger leaf, you can use a bigger brush. So I'll show you. Let's have a look what we've got here. We've got a slightly bigger one. So tip, pressure on and pressure off, pressure on, pressure off, and that makes a slightly bigger one. Load the brush up, it's a little bit wet, just take a bit of water out of it. Brush it on and brush it off. Just make sure that you always have them coming out of the away from the flower rather than into. So you're pulling it away from the flower. So you've just got a few little leaves there. Oops. And then a centre. So to do a centre, you can either use a little sponge screwed up, which I think makes a nice centre. So take a little hydro sponge and nip it into a little circle, like so, and then just give them all a middle. So just a little dab, 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 just brings it together. And actually, sometimes, look, we could change and do it black. I think it looks quite dramatic if it's black. And you can see how this would go on absolutely anything. And then just to finish it off, you can outline it. So you get a nice slim liner. And this is what I call a dribble stroke. So don't be going around them sort of like this to the shape of the petal exact. What you do is you load the colour and you start at the top and you pull and you press it down and then you wiggle it and press it down. So it's got like what I call a dribble stroke. It's broken, doesn't even have to be on the line. So you kind of dance the brush around the piece.
Quite abstract.
Yeah, quite modern. I am a bit of a traditional painter, but I do try my best to sometimes stop being traditional and just think outside the box. And don't you think the black just sort of finishes it off?
Makes the colour pop.
It does. And because the clay colour is quite thick, we could, if we could find one, I don't know if there's one hanging about, you could actually do sgraffito and carve some little white lines through your colour because it goes on quite thick.
And Liz is going to look.
That's one of Liz's favourite things, sgraffito, the art of carving through colour. Can you see how that brings it together? Just dancing that brush round.
No, I think you're going to be unlucky, Rachel, today. I don't think we've got one up here.
No, there might actually be one in my brush box, which is absolutely. Oh, look! Ta-da! I'll show you how to do that in a second. We're trying to keep these short and sweet because we just feel that maybe they were just a little bit long before, and you lose concentration. You can sort of tell on your, I think they call it algorithms, how long people have tuned in. Or it might be that they weren't enjoying it, which is a bit sad because I'm doing my best. So, and then give the leaf a little outline as well. If you want to make the paint a little thinner, sometimes it's easier to do outlines. Can you see how it's dancing around the piece?
Makes it really, it looks like it's 3D. You know, like how you put your outline now, it makes it look like it's got petals on top of the other one. And
Yeah, because you're deciding who's underneath, which petal's underneath. That's what you've got to decide when you start to outline. And don't get hung up about even if you've gone over a line. Brings back memories, this, because it was such a long time ago that we first made this up. It must have been when we had a shop in Pontefract Town Centre. No, it wasn't. It was,
before that.
yeah, it was when we had Britannia Works.
Beech tree.
And it was beech tree ceramics, yes. And I actually taught this as a design class in Vegas for the ICDD, I think they call it. Must be, oh gosh, I don't know. People said I was mad because there's no pattern, and they felt it would intimidate the students, but it got voted a thumbs up, so
We need
they
to
must
see
have
how
liked it. So
Tina likes it, because she's always wanting something easier to do, isn't she?
she is, and she's off to the caravan with a load of pots next week. In fact, she's even taken 2 cars so that her husband can go home if he wants to.
1 car for the pots and 1 car for the clothes.
Yep. Okay, so you've got pretty much, I think I've outlined all of it, and I'm on probably about 12 minutes, so that's not bad. We've been timing it to see what it's like. Now, when you sgraffito something, oh, we're on 16 minutes. When you sgraffito it, you should really wait for the shine to go off, and there is, I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of shine here, and which will mean that when I sgraffito it, the bits will stick to a shiny bit. So do wait, but I'm not going to wait simply because I'm trying to do this quite fast. So if you look, if you just give it a little push, oops, I can't. Do you know, I thought we base coated this, but we didn't.
No.
No, so it's not as thick as I thought then. I thought we'd base coated white, but you can see, look, there's some people won't like that noise. And then what you do is this is to dust the bits away. So you can just, I think,
There you
see.
can see it.
I'm not going to spend too long doing all those to show you, but you can see. And then perhaps you may or you may not want a band. And if I had a banding sponge handy, I could show you, but I haven't. So I'll tell you what I'll show you. I'll show you this another way to band. You could just use this sponge that Liz has just pointed out and just tap, 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 tap. And what this does is it makes your eyes go to the middle of the plate. You focus it because it's like framing it like a picture. There we go. And now I'm going to spray this. Now this water is a little bit milky, so I don't know if it'll affect it because it's dirty water. But you can see it makes it, it'll show you what it's going to look like when it's finished because it darkens the colours. So you can see there, you can see. And it also shows you if you haven't got enough paint somewhere and you can see through it, which is what it's showing me here on this yellow petal when it's gone over the dark blue. So I could just pick up a little bit of yellow and put it in now. I have to wait for it to dry, it's too wet. But that would cut, you know, it's no point in thinking once it's fired, oh, I wish I'd put a little bit more colour on. So if you spray anything you do before you fire it, then you will see what it's going to look like. And if you decide to sgraffito it tomorrow, you should just spritz it just to make it just damp but not wet, so that you get nice clean lines when you carve through. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll hear from you. Hopefully you'll subscribe and leave us a comment and watch our next workshop. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.